This is a book review for the book Ordinary Men by Christopher Browning. It is about the Reserve Police Battalion 101 and the final solution in Poland. The premise of this book is that the genocide, the Holocaust, was committed not so much by fanatic, anti-Semitic, insane Nazis, but just by normal, ordinary men. It details this specific group of dudes who are from Hamburg, Germany, which was a place where Nazi sentiment wasn't very high. Like, these people were just like, they weren't really into the whole Nazi shit. And these older guys were drafted into the military, but they were deemed too old for military service. So they're just like, you guys are reserve police battalion, reserve cops. Do police shit, not military shit. And so these guys, they grew up in Germany before it was Nazi Germany. They weren't subjected to all the propaganda of the Nazi youth. They knew what life was like when it was normal, not Nazi. So these dudes weren't like prime killers ready to do, genocidal type shit. They were just ordinary men. So what happened was these guys got moved over to Poland. They were like, all right, our forces are stretched thin. You guys are gonna have to go do some shit over there. They go over, and the leader of this, battalion, it was about 500 people, and they were like, all right, guys, we're about to do some crazy shit. But if you don't want to, you can leave. So out of like 500, right off the bat, 12 dudes were like, all right, this sounds sketchy, I'm out. And then these guys were put in charge of basically just murdering the shit out of a bunch of innocent Jews. And they didn't really enjoy it. But they did it anyway. And like the point of this book is that they just gave in to peer pressure and given into authority to just do stuff, even though they didn't feel comfortable. A lot of these guys had children, and they weren't really on board with just killing innocent children and women and old people. But they did it anyway. And even like the leaders of platoons would be like, all right, guys, you guys got to go over here and do this. I'm out. A lot of the guys that were in charge of the show didn't really want to have anything to do with the killing and made themselves scarce. And even when it started, guys would bail, making up excuses. They were trying to shoot high and miss. People were just like, oh, we're gearing up to go shoot innocent people. I sprained my ankle. I don't feel good. I got to go over here. That was a lot of the guys, like all the way up from just the low-level dudes even to like the leaders in this battalion. But for the most part, they just did it anyway. And of course, there was the people that were absolutely crazy, barbaric, and extremely full to the brim with Nazi shit. But for the most part, it was just normal guys. And that's really like the main thing to learn about history, is that for everything that you've ever read about, I mean, those are people and work people, and yeah. And so the thing is, the popular phrase around the Holocaust now is never again. And basically what I see that as, people being like, oh, let's not let Nazis be Nazis and do Nazi shit, which, correct, yes. But the main point is that this shit was committed, genocide was committed by normal people that were just given into fucking peer pressure. And if you were alive back in Nazi Germany during that time, statistically speaking, you would have been a Nazi, which is not a fucking great thing to think about. This is how it ends the book. Why does it matter which of our portrayals of and conclusions about Reserve Police Battalion 101 are closer to the truth? It would be very comforting if Goldhagen were correct, that very few societies have the long-term cultural cognitive prerequisites to commit genocide, and that regimes can only do so when the population is overwhelmingly of one mind about its priority, justice, and necessity. We would live in a safer world if he were right, but I am not so optimistic. I fear that we live in a world in which war and racism are ubiquitous. in which the powers of government mobilization and legitimization are powerful and increasing, which a sense of personal responsibility is increasingly attenuated by speculation and bureaucratization. It's a tough one. In which the peer group exerts tremendous pressures on behavior and sets moral norms. In such a world, I fear modern governments that wish to commit mass murders will seldom fail in their efforts for being unable to induce ordinary men to become their willing executioners. Yeah, so the point is that you want to be strong enough and self-determined enough for when people come around and be like, hey, we're going to go do some Nazi stuff. You're like, no, I don't want to. Shit's whack.